History is written one October at a time. From empires rising to revolutions igniting, let's travel through centuries of turning points that all happened on October 26. Let's start with October 1185. The uprising of Asen and Peter begins on St. Demetrius's feast day, sparking a rebellion against Byzantine rule. Their victory leads to the birth of the Second Bulgarian Empire, restoring Bulgaria's independence after 2 centuries. In October 1341, the Byzantine Empire plunges into civil war as John VI Cantacuzene declares himself emperor. The conflict divides nobles, clergy, and the army, weakening Byzantium on the eve of Ottoman expansion. Now, let's see what happened in October 1377. Tvrtkofer is crowned the first king of Bosnia, transforming the region from a vassal state into an independent medieval kingdom that flourished under his rule. Heading back to October 1520. Charles V is crowned Holy Roman Emperor in Aachen, cementing Habsburg dominance over Europe and setting the stage for decades of religious and political conflict. In October 1597, at the Battle of Myeongnyang, Admiral Yi Sun-sin defeats a Japanese fleet of 300 ships with only 13, using cunning tactics and fierce currents to secure a legendary Korean victory. In October 1640, the Treaty of Ripon ends hostilities between Scotland's Covenanters and King Charles III of England, forcing the monarch to summon Parliament, a step toward the English Civil War. Let's take a look at October 1689. Austrian General Enea Silvio Piccolomini burns Skopje to halt a cholera outbreak, but dies from the very disease he tried to stop, leaving tragedy in his wake. Let's take a look at October 1774. The First Continental Congress concludes in Philadelphia after uniting the colonies against British policies, laying the foundation for the American Revolution. Now, moving to October 1813. In the Battle of Chateauguay, British, Canadian, and Mohawk forces repel an American invasion, preserving Canada from conquest during the War of 1812. Heading back to October 1825. The Erie Canal opens, linking the Hudson River to Lake Erie and turning New York City into the gateway of American trade and expansion. In October 1859. The Royal Charter storm devastates the British Isles, sinking over 200 ships and claiming at least 800 lives, one of the deadliest maritime disasters of the century. Let's take a look at October 1860. Giuseppe Garibaldi ends his famed expedition of the Thousand, handing southern Italy to King Victor Emmanuel II, a key step toward Italian unification. Now, let's see what happened in October 1863. The Football Association is founded in London, establishing the first standardized rules of soccer and shaping the modern global game. Now, moving to October 1871. Liberian President Edward James Roy is overthrown in a coup, reflecting the growing internal divisions within Africa's first independent republic. Heading back to October 1881. In Tombstone, Arizona, Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, and their allies face the Clantons in the gunfight at the OK Corral, a 30-second shootout that becomes Wild West legend. Now, moving to October 1890. Chile inaugurates the Malaco Viaduct, then the highest railway bridge in the world, symbolizing the nation's engineering ambition and progress. Let's take a look at October 1892. Journalist Ida B. Wells publishes Southern Horrors, exposing the brutal reality of lynching in the American South and sparking the early civil rights movement. Let's take a look at October 1905. King Oscar II acknowledges the peaceful dissolution of the union between Norway and Sweden, granting Norway full independence after nearly a century. In October 1909, Korean patriot An Jung-geun assassinates Japanese official Ito Hirobumi, a protest against Japan's occupation that makes him a national hero in Korea. In October 1912, In the First Balkan War, the Ottoman Empire loses Thessaloniki and Skopje, signaling its rapid decline in southeastern Europe. Now to October 1917. Brazil declares war on the Central Powers, joining the Allied cause in World War I and marking its first major step onto the world stage. Now, moving to October 1918. German General Erich Ludendorff is dismissed by Kaiser Wilhelm II after refusing peace negotiations, signaling the collapse of Imperial Germany. Let's take a look at October 1936. The Hoover Dam's first generator begins operation, bringing hydroelectric power to millions and symbolizing American industrial might. Now to October 1937. Nazi Germany expels 18,000 Polish Jews, a grim precursor to the horrors that would follow in World War II. In October 1942, during the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands, fierce air combat leaves heavy losses on both sides, as Japan and the U.S. clash in the Pacific. In October 1944, the Battle of Leyte Gulf ends in a decisive American victory, crippling Japan's navy and paving the way for liberation in the Pacific. Now, let's see what happened in October 1947. The Maharaja of Kashmir signs accession to India, igniting the First Indo-Pakistani War and a territorial conflict that endures for decades. Now, let's see what happened in October 1955. Austria declares permanent neutrality after regaining independence, vowing never to join any military alliance during the Cold War. Later that same month, October 1955, Ngo Dinh Diem proclaims the Republic of Vietnam, establishing South Vietnam and deepening Cold War tensions in Southeast Asia. In October 1956, in Hungary, protests erupt into a full-scale revolution. Soviet forces crush the uprising, leaving thousands dead and marking a turning point in Eastern Europe. Now, moving to October 1958, Pan American Airways launches the first Boeing 707 passenger flight from New York to Paris, ushering in the era of commercial jet travel. Now, let's see what happened in October 1967. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi crowns himself Shahanshah, King of Kings, of Iran, showcasing imperial grandeur as unrest quietly brews beneath the surface. Let's take a look at October 1968. The Soviet Soyuz 3 mission achieves the first space rendezvous for the USSR, advancing its rivalry with the U.S. in the space race. Now, moving to October 1977. Somali health worker Ali Mau contracts the last natural case of smallpox. His recovery marks the end of humanity's deadliest disease. Now to October 1979. South Korean President Park Chung-hee is assassinated by his own intelligence chief, plunging the nation into political turmoil. Now, moving to October 1985. Australia returns Uluru to its indigenous owners, recognizing Aboriginal land rights in a historic act of reconciliation. In October 1989, China Airlines Flight 204 crashes in Taiwan shortly after takeoff, killing all 54 passengers and crew aboard. Now, moving to October 1991. The last Yugoslav army soldier withdraws from Slovenia, confirming its independence after the 10-day war. Now, let's see what happened in October 1995. An avalanche devastates the Icelandic village of Flateyri, destroying homes and taking 20 lives in one of the country's worst natural disasters. Let's take a look at October 1999. Britain's House of Lords votes to end most hereditary voting rights, marking a major reform in the centuries-old parliamentary system. Now, moving to October 2000. Mass protests in Côte d'Ivoire force Robert Gay to step down, restoring power to elected leaders after a disputed presidential election. Heading back to October 2001, the U.S. enacts the Patriot Act, expanding government surveillance powers in response to the 9/11 attacks. Now to October 2002. Russian forces storm a Moscow theater held by Chechen militants. over 200 die, including many hostages, in a tragedy that shocks the world. Now, let's see what happened in October 2003. The Cedar Fire rages through Southern California, destroying 200 homes and burning 250,000 acres, one of the state's worst wildfires. Heading back to October 2004, Rockstar Games releases Grand Theft Auto: San Andreas for PlayStation 2. It sells 12 million copies and becomes the console's best-selling title. In October 2012, Microsoft releases Windows 8, introducing a new touchscreen interface and beginning a bold shift in PC design. And finally, October 2015, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake hits the Hindu Kush Mountains, killing nearly 400 people and injuring over 2,500 across South Asia. The visuals within this presentation are crafted to enrich your understanding, serving as artistic interpretations and contextual aids rather than direct factual representations. Their purpose is to illuminate the narrative and deepen your engagement with the historical backdrop. Join our growing community of history enthusiasts. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support keeps history alive.